The Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew, the 10th chapter. Please rise for a reading of the Gospel. Glory to you. Jesus said to the 12, "A disciple is not above the teacher, nor a slave above the master. It is enough for the disciple to be like the teacher and the slave like the master. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebul, how much more will they malign those of his household? So have no fear of them. For nothing is covered up that will not be uncovered, and nothing secret that will not light. And what you hear whispered, proclaim from the housetops. Do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather fear him who can destroy both soul and the body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father. And even the hairs of your head are all counted. So do not be afraid. You are more valuable than many sparrows. Everyone, therefore, who acknowledges me before others, I will acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But whoever denies me before others, I also will deny before my Father in heaven. Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the world. I have come not to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and one's foes will be members of one's household. Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever does not take up the cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Those who find their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. You know how some days and events of your life are imprinted in your brain memory in such a way that no matter how you try, you will never be able to remove them from there. This one that I'm going to describe was one of those days for me. There was this lady who had been worshiping at our church for quite a while. For many months she had come, but she would quietly slip away before the service ended. So I never got to had the opportunity to speak to her or meet her. She had started to come pretty regularly, so I was determined to find out her name at least. Somehow, with great persistence, I eventually was able to meet her, catch her before the end of the service. And surprisingly, after all that evading, she was delighted that I had gone into trouble to catch her, and because I thought she was going to become a phantom before my eyes. Marion was in her 80s at the time when I met her, which you will have never thought. She had me fooled at least about 20 years. We got to know each other very well in just a few weeks after we had met. But after a few weeks after we had met, Marion fell seriously ill. Marion had no family. She was widow with no children. So I visited her while she was hospitalized quite often. It so happened that she was in a hospital. It was over the only Christmas that I had the opportunity to know her. As you can imagine, Christmas is a pretty busy season here in a church, and planning and greening and decorating church, and then culminating in the 4 services on Christmas Eve. I had gone to bed about 3 o'clock in the morning on Christmas morning just to turn back to go for Sunday morning service that Christmas day. And so by Christmas afternoon, both my husband and I usually are utterly exhausted, just toast and ready for a comfortable couch and a nap. I had this brilliant idea, however, that we should go to visit Marion after church on Christmas. I had presented this idea to my husband, Brian, who also is a harpist, and saying how we should bring this his harp and he should play for her on Christmas Day. I thought he was going to say that I'm out of my mind. What are you crazy? However, saint that he was and is, he agreed willingly. As it happened, it was raining like cats and dogs and on that Christmas afternoon when we went to the hospital. And the harp is a large and heavy and cumbersome instrument. It's about 6 foot tall. And the hospital corridors are long and arduous to navigate without a harp. We found Marion lying small and tired, crumpled in her hospital bed. When she saw us, her demeanor immediately changed, brightened, and having someone to visit her on Christmas Day, that brought a sparkle in her eyes immediately. When the harp began to play, its gentle sound swelled her heart and eyes into tears of joy, and so it did mine. And there we were, our hearts filled with indescribable joy, as the hospital room had become a place filled with Christmas spirit. This was the best Christmas present I have ever been able to give and be part of, and the best one I have ever received. It was the only Christmas I ever knew Marion, and it came to be her last one just a few weeks later. I am so glad we did not miss that tender moment of heaven touching down on us on that Christmas day. I think Jesus may have had something like that in mind when he said that he who loses his life for Jesus' sake will find it. Jesus tells us to take our cross and carry it. We are called to serve others, serve humanity. By doing so, we both serve God and carry our cross. Serving is different from helping, though. Often when we help, we don't serve. Those who help see life differently from those who serve. When we help, we easily see the person we help as someone weaker than us, someone more needy, someone to be fixed even. A helping relationship may incur a sense of debt. When we serve, service is always free of debt. Serving is also different from fixing. When we fix, we easily see only brokenness everywhere, and this can lead us to sit in judgment of others. When we fix others, we may become dismissive of their integrity, of their very humanity. When we serve, we see humanity in others. We strengthen their humanity and wholeness in them as well as our own. Service is always a relationship between two equals. All who serve life. When we serve, we discover that all life is holy. Service is closer to generosity than it is to duty. We discover our connectedness through serving, and thus serving others become a natural and joyful thing to do. Fixing and helping, they drain us. They leave us exhausted on the long run. But serving is mutual. Serving renews and strengthens us and wholeness in us. When you serve, you discover the holiness of life, God's holy presence among us. Thus, service blesses both the recipient and the giver, and sometimes the giver even maybe more than the recipient. Something like that happened on that dreary Christmas afternoon. I felt like carrying the cross to go to the hospital in that rainy weather. But leaving the hospital, I couldn't tell who was more richly blessed and lifted up by the time we had spent time together with Marion. Many of you here at Emmanuel are serving in a multitude of ways, both locally and globally, and providing opportunities to serve for everyone else who enters these doors. Haiti, the Lama Center, the Facets, Vacation Bible School, the Coffee Ministry. There are just number of things you do, and you know better than I do, so I won't even attempt more than that. Through these ministries, you are putting Jesus' words in practice in every day of your lives. Jesus calls us to serve, and when we follow his command, we come to find our true selves through that service. This is what Jesus meant with losing one's life. We find our life. We discover not only our own humanity, but that of others. There is no longer them versus us, but we recognize that we are all part of one big human family. When we discover that holiness of life in everyone and everything, we may have just found our lives exactly just as Jesus meant in our gospel text this morning. And when we do come to this place in our lives, this place of recognition, we cannot any longer turn our blind eye to those who suffer without food or safety, the sick and the poor. We cannot ignore anyone, especially at polarized times like we are living right now in this country and in our world. Our call to follow Christ begins by simply caring for those around us. We can begin with small gestures of kindness toward others, that of a mail lady or trash collector or waiter at the restaurant or the cashier girl at the checkout at the grocery store. And we can move bigger things like Haiti and Facets and giving money to those who need the money more than we do. Here I would like to finish with a quote from the great Methodist church father, church founder John Wesley, who so eloquently put, "Do all the good you can, by all the means you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as you ever can." Amen.